Jesus. Hello out there. We're on the air. Welcome back. Welcome back to the daily Bitcoin journey. It is Wednesday. Happy hump day. It's been a little chaotic in this house this morning. I'm looking after the King Arnie himself by myself, so it's a little bit much. But he seems to be doing okay so far. We might have to get up mid-show here and give him a little spank, but we'll see how he does. Anyways, good morning, everybody. Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, zap.stream. I just decided 5 minutes before the show that we're going to be doing a Living in the Future show after. So I was setting that up. So we got a good one today. We got lots going on. Oh, we got Daniel in the zap.stream. Already zapped 21 sats, a small step toward the snowblower. Could you imagine if we actually raised enough Bitcoin to buy a snowblower next winter? That would be beyond my wildest dreams. Johnny, good morning. Crypto Heathen, Pomp says TA looking good for Bitcoin today, bull flag pattern. I'm not a big TA guy myself. I'm not going to lie. That kind of TA anyways. Oh no, the other one's TNA. TNA. Daniel zapping. Letha says good morning, and Jose is also in the zap.stream. If you don't know how to get to zap.stream, it's very, very simple. Type into your browser, bitcoinjourney.ca/stream. It'll redirect you right to zap.stream. You can set up a profile in there. You can start sending zaps. You can zap each other. You can receive some zaps. And if you don't know what a zap is, well, watch the show for about another week. You'll be good. Ballsy Golf, my favorite name, one of my favorite names in the chat. Ballsy Golf. I want to know this question though, Ballsy Golf. Do you have a golf company? Because if you do, I would like to connect with you sometime. We got a King Golf ourselves. I actually want to show you guys something today. So let's do it right now while we're hot. So this is our hoodies, King Golf. It's KNG, but short for King. These were our limited edition hoodies for 2023. So it's got a little silhouette of Tiger Woods there. Pretty cool. But what I want to propose, if anybody's interested, these were a limited run. So we only made 44 of these. And I think I want to do something similar for this channel. So here's my idea. I don't know if it pulled through or not. We'll just double check here. Letha zapping in the zap.stream. Thank you. Okay, let's see if this showed up or not. I think it did. Yep. So this is my idea for a little special edition 88 sat channel, Bitcoin edition of this hoodie. Let me know what you think. If we can find it. There it is. So it's the same idea, just with the lightning bolt in there. So the cool thing about our brand, King Golf, and I didn't really plan this, to be completely honest with you, but there is no I in King for King Golf. And so we've started kind of replacing the I with different logos or silhouettes, or in this case, a lightning bolt. So this is what I want to do, a limited edition run for this community, for Bitcoiners. And maybe we'll do all the payments in Bitcoin. I think that'd be kind of cool. So if you're interested, this is what's going to be on it. It's going to be a gray hoodie, just like this one, except it has a lightning bolt in there. So if you're interested, it won't be very much. I think the last hoodies, we usually charge $69 for the hoodies, Canadian, which is like $5 American. So if you're interested in buying one, let me know. We can start. No, you don't need to be whining. I don't think we're live right now. We're live. We'll start getting those into production, and so just shoot me an email, shoot me a message, leave a comment in here, and I'll start writing down a list. And then when they're available, It will be. I like the limited edition idea. I like that. Kind of similar to Bitcoin. Things have to be scarce. So we're going to do a limited edition Bitcoin hoodie. King Golf Bitcoin hoodie. If you're interested, find a way to get at me. I'll make you one for sure. Well, limited run. Maybe we'll. Uh-oh. Are things working here? Oh yeah, we're back. I don't know what happened there. My internet was orange. Now it's back. I don't know. Are we live? Are we live? We must be. We must be. Okay, well, let's keep her going. The comments weren't showing up. I couldn't post a comment in here, so I figured the internet was going down. I don't know what's been going on. This internet was so good for the first 3 or 4 months of the show, and then the last week it's just been dog shit. So I don't know what's going on. We're live. Okay. Thank you, Johnny. Good morning, Rick. He says the like has been smashed. Now I can start my day. Good morning, Bob. Oh, that's Robert. I didn't even recognize you there. We'll go with Bob. I like the name Bob. Okay, so let's stop sharing that for a second. I'll top over to. Okay, we're good. We're back. Daniel over in Zap.stream says, how about the King Golf blue hat with a yellow lightning bolt? I like that. I like that idea. I'm for it. Okay, well, kind of a crazy start, but we're here. And that's what matters. We're here every morning for the daily Bitcoin journey. The daily Bitcoin journey, by the way, is actionable and logical discussion for Bitcoiners and for future Bitcoiners. So let's keep this going. Let's keep this rolling here. The theme of today's show is called All Aboard the Bitcoin Lifeboat. So yesterday I did a little bit of a, what would you call it? Analogy. And I've heard this analogy before. I'm sure most people have as well, but I really love the Titanic analogy. And so we're going to talk about that today. We're going to take it a little step further like we usually do on this show. And we're going to go from there. So that's the theme of the show. I'm going to start with this quote, though, from Eric Kaysen, one of my favorite guys in Bitcoin, honestly. I know he's a little bit outspoken in a lot of ways, but that's okay. I appreciate that. So where did that go now? Too many tabs, too much going on. Here we go. So here's the quote from Eric Kaysen. I'm realizing more and more at how absolutely unhinged everything is going to get and how childish most people are in believing that someone will come to save them. And when there is no one and things are worse than they could ever imagine, that is when reality will sink in. So that's kind of going to be the theme of today's show. Let's take this down for a sec. That's going to be the theme of today's show. And like I said, right before the show, I decided that we're going to call an audible, and I'm going to do a Living in the Future show after. So I'm going to keep this one a little bit shorter than usual. Not a great start, but we'll get her back here. So the metrics today, we are currently sitting at block height 836,517. That last block was mined by Antpool. The last two have been mined by Antpool. Lucky guys and girls. If you're transacting on the Bitcoin Layer 1 network, you're paying about 15 sats per VByte this morning. So pretty good. Fees are still very reasonable at this point. I think that if you are somebody with a bunch of UTXOs, if you've been dollar cost averaging for the last couple of years or a year even, it is definitely something to consider that you want to consolidate those UTXOs into one. All you have to do there is move it into a new wallet or a new address, I guess I should say, and it will automatically create one UTXO from that. So with that, what you're doing is you're going to be decreasing the amount of Bitcoin fees that you pay in the future when you go to spend that Bitcoin. If you ever do, that's what's going to happen there. So you want to make sure that you have your UTXOs at a minimum. And it is the perfect time to be doing that this morning. 15 sats per VByte. The price today, $70,693 US dollars. So about the same as yesterday. 1 year ago today, you could have purchased one Bitcoin for $27,204 US dollars. And 4 years ago, you could have purchased one, which is the equivalent of $1 US dollar. That'll get you 1,425 Satoshis. And the price today here in Canada is 95,410 US dollar or Canadian dollars. Moose Jaw time here today, which is the equivalent of Moscow time here in Canada. One loonie will get you 1,048 Satoshis. So what else we got going on here today? We got some news. We got a little bit more news that I wanted to cover today, so maybe I'll cut a few of these out. But holy. Okay, internet's really pissing me off. Arnie's kind of pissing me off. We got to stay calm. We got to stay calm. We got to stay cheerful. That was the message from yesterday's Living in the Future show. Got to stay calm. Got to stay cheerful. So Palm says, how much is that compared to an average annual expense in Canada? Are we talking Bitcoin? Because a couple of weeks ago, we talked about on the show that one Bitcoin here in Canada is $90,000. The average salary here in Canada is about $65,000, $70,000 per year. And I think we figured out that it would take 17 years for somebody who's earning about $80,000 a year after their expenses. It would take them 17 years saving in fiat, living in fiat, to get one Bitcoin. Pretty crazy. So, I mean, we talk about the price every day. It's a number on the screen, but it's a big number, and that's a big, in that world that we live in right now, that's a big number for a lot of people to get to. It's pretty much priced out the entire middle class already. It's starting to price out some of the people who have been in this system for the last 60, 70 years, who are retired now, and they still can't afford to get one Bitcoin. That's how rare these are going to be to own. And so our focus on this show is not just telling you to buy Bitcoin. That's inherent with the stuff we talk about. But the idea of this show and the message that I want to get across to people is that buying Bitcoin is one thing, but you have to start living your life in that world and earning Bitcoin. So that is the only way that you're ever going to even consider getting to one Bitcoin, is if you're setting up your life in a way where you can earn Bitcoin. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that this show and going into the future, of course. Good morning, Mav. Says Bitcoin is still ridiculously cheap. I agree. And just because you can't afford one Bitcoin, and the majority of people can't, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be buying Bitcoin and earning Bitcoin and doing everything that you possibly can just to get as much as you can. It's going to be so incredibly rare to have one Bitcoin that I don't think that should be the end all be all for you. Ballsy Golf says, stay calm, improvise, adapt, and overcome. Great advice for me this morning. I'm trying my best here. I'm trying my best. Let's have a little bit of coffee here. So let's get to some news. This segment every day, Bitcoin news on the Bitcoin journey, is sponsored by Bitcoin News themselves. So here's their website. I highly recommend putting this on your bookmarks, bitcoinnews.com. anytime you need anything, there's all the articles on here from, it's not just like the latest and greatest things happening in Bitcoin. You can actually drill into adoption, lightning, mining, some videos on here. Great resource for anybody out there who's into Bitcoin and wants to stay up to date with Bitcoin. So not only watching this show every morning, but also keeping up to date with this website. So bitcoinnews.com. And we're going to get to a couple tweets from bitcoinnews.com. The first one, though, I think that we should discuss here, and I don't have a graphic for it, so we'll just be chatting about it here. But the first one that I saw yesterday was that there was some serious vulnerabilities in the max with Bitcoin. So apparently there's this thing called Go Fetch. It's I don't know the whole story there, so I'm not going to pretend like I do. But kind of the key takeaways from me there is that if you are somebody who has a Mac and you are somebody who holds your private key encrypted on that Mac, somebody possibly can get a hold of that. And from what I understand of it, they have to actually hold your laptop physically. But that's where we are today. I'm sure in a month from now or 2 months from now, they'll be able to do it without actually having your laptop. So that's how these things move. Once people out there kind of find these vulnerabilities, they work towards further making it further vulnerable. So that is where we're at today. If you have any private keys, first of all, before you even consider that, you have to make sure that the number one rule in Bitcoin, other than never telling anybody how much Bitcoin you own, the number two rule in Bitcoin is never have your private key on anything that's digital. So I don't care if that's a password protector on your phone, the most private and protected password protector, that's a lot of P's. Out there, never put your private key on anything that's digital. I don't care if it's encrypted on your laptop. I don't care if it isn't a password manager. You always want to have this stuff on paper. And once you get enough Bitcoin, you move that from paper onto steel. Because I think a lot of people out there, and you might ask yourself this question: if something happened in your house, you had a couple too many beers, you had a weed gummy, and you fell asleep on the couch, your stove was on, your house burnt down, would your Bitcoin survive that? If you have it on your phone or you have it on a cold card with your private key written down on a piece of paper, your Bitcoin will probably not survive that fire. And it's pretty easy to say that it can happen to me, as Charlie Major says. Can happen to me, but it can. And so you have to be putting that's your transition. Never put it onto anything digital, get it onto paper. And then from there, buy yourselves a couple weeks, order a steel plate somehow. They sell them on CoinKite, but put it onto steel. That's what I would suggest there. Okay, what's going on over in Zap.stream here? Phoenix Falconer is over there. Good to see you, my friend. He says, if you're not suffering now at the expense of stacking as hard as you can, then you are robbing your future self. Absolutely. Absolutely agree with that. Mav says he's ready for the Masters. Amen to that. What are we, 2 weeks? Week and a half away from the Masters? That is my favorite weekend of the year, I think. And Brennan in the chat says, it is actually when people stop thinking about one whole coin as being the end all be all. There just aren't enough to go around. Sats are the way people will need to price. 1000% agree with that. Pomp says his wife's boyfriend has taken care of all his private keys. You never know what's going to happen on the show. You never know what's going to be said in the chat. That's the beauty of the live shows. I'm absolutely here for it. Good stuff. Okay, well, let's move to the next piece of news here. What is it? Oh, update on Nylum Resources, whatever the hell they're called. Did you guys buy any stock? Nylum Resources? It was up 1,800% yesterday after the show. On yesterday's show, we talked about how we thought it was a potential pump and dump because the math just didn't make sense. They were buying 1.7 billion worth of Bitcoin. They had $1 million market cap for their company, but somehow they were in a agreement or a long-term strategy to buy 10,000 or 11,000 Bitcoin. So we called it for what it was yesterday. This is kind of funny, but yesterday I actually tried to go and buy some of the Nylon stock, and it wasn't offered by my platform. So I was going to put like $50 in, sell it in like 2 hours, make like enough to buy lunch tomorrow or something. I obviously wasn't going to put in any sort of my savings or Bitcoin or anything like that, but I just kind of wanted to get in on it. But my Q trade said, nope, not allowed to. Sorry, bud. Probably for the best. And so here's kind of the follow-up to that. But it says, Northern Resources CEO Ron McIntyre resigns, calling the letter of intent to purchase Bitcoin a classic pump and dump orchestrated by the company without his review. So there's some information on here. He resigned a couple weeks ago. So it says, Mr. McIntyre resigned from his position, and he told reporters, just look at the chart. It's a classic pump and dump. There will be an investigation into Nylon Resources. So probably for the best that my small purchase didn't go through. But this is exactly what I said yesterday. There is opportunity there. There is opportunity there when you kind of know what you're doing, because if you're getting into one of those scenarios where the price is just running up very quickly, the people who wait too long, the people who get too greedy, they're the ones who are left holding the bag. So if you're somebody who goes in with like a very small percent of your free cash flow, if you happen to lose it, you wouldn't even bother your day. Let's go with that. I would never advocate for somebody putting in something that they could lose into an investment like this. But if you got $50 of free cash in your investment account and you wanted to throw it in there, I do, and it's fun, something to do. I don't gamble on sports or anything like that. So that's my fun, but they didn't allow me to do it. Next piece of news here. It appears that Hong Kong will permit an in-kind creation and redemption for spot Bitcoin ETFs in the second quarter, offering an alternative to the US ETF market. This move could ignite strong demand as investors could directly exchange Bitcoin for ETF shares. So it seems like the whole world is getting on the Bitcoin train. Started with the US, actually it started in Canada, believe it or not, years ago. Canada hasn't had an ETF for many years. The US, yesterday we talked about the London Stock Exchange doing the same kind of thing. And then today we see that Hong Kong is also having a Bitcoin ETF. So what does this mean? What does this mean? This is second quarter. Yesterday's London announcement was for May 2024. So these two ETFs are going to happen after the halving. So currently today, I'm going to just take a quick look here and see, because I have this chart handy all the time. So 2028 on April 2024, we're going to go from 6.25 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. It drops to 1.56. No, that's a lie. Forget everything I just said. We're going from 6.25 Bitcoin right now, every 10 minutes. That's how many new Bitcoin are created. After April 20th, it's going to be 3.125 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. And per day, that means that currently there's 900 Bitcoin created every day. And we're going to drop down to 450 Bitcoin per day. So we've seen what's happened in the last couple months with the US ETFs. And because of the supply being so low and about to cut in half even further, it's created a very nice floor, a very nice foundation, in the sense that if Bitcoin were ever to drop, there's always going to be so much demand for it between the US, the Hong Kong coming, the London exchange coming. This is where the big money hangs out. This is where Wall Street hangs out. So guys like me and you, we don't move the needle very much. But these people will be buying. They will not stop buying, and they will never sell that Bitcoin. And so this supply crunch that's coming up here, and it's not my opinion, it's the demand for it is there. The supply is going down. And when that pinch point happens, I think that they said the Grayscale Trust, who's been basically liquidating all their Bitcoin because their fees are too high, but that Bitcoin is going to run out in the not so distant future. And that's kind of the only thing that's actually supplying these ETFs with their demand, meeting demand with the supply, is the Grayscale Trust. And when that runs out, plus the halving kicks in, things are going to get pretty wild. Things are going to get wild beyond belief, I think. Crypto Ethan says, yet most people I know in real life are still sleeping on Bitcoin, and I'm a nutter for it. Yeah, if you've been in Bitcoin for a while, it's definitely not the easiest position to take in life. Let's just say that. Things are tough, but things are getting better for sure. So next part here. I thought this was kind of cool. I don't know if I can actually find it here or not. I thought I was going to be able to, but no, I can't. I'm going to have to save this for tomorrow, this part. I didn't do my due diligence here. Okay, the next part, which I want to showcase, is a contest. A contest. People love contests. I do. I wish I actually entered more contests than I do. I just feel like that's something that also people sleep on. Underrated. Contests are underrated because I feel like people just assume that there's going to be so many people that enter that they're not going to have a chance to win, especially for like the bigger prizes. And then it just, you know, I've known people in my life who have honestly made a career from winning contests. Legit story. This was a little bit different times, I think, than the online stuff. This was a grandma of somebody that I know, and she literally made a living off of entering contests and winning them. And some of these prizes, especially back in the day when every company didn't have their own version of it, but she won a lot of stuff by entering a lot of contests. So here's what I want to propose to everybody. This is a Bitcoin news contest. So it says, celebrate the Bitcoin halving with 21 to halving. 21 Bitcoin teams, giveaways each day leading up to the halving, massive prize on halving day, and it kicks off March 30th. Next step, follow each one of us to win prizes. So there's a list here. What I want to propose here to the crew is that let's all enter this. Let's all enter this contest, follow every single person, do everything we need to do to enter this contest, and let's see what happens. Maybe one of us in the chat, or maybe myself, will win one of these prizes. Let's up the odds. And I just feel like, especially with Bitcoin contest right now, like we think about how we're the 1% of the population who owns Bitcoin. It's way less than 1%, but round it up. And with these contests, think about that in terms of how many people will actually be entering these contests. So that's what I propose to you. Head over to Bitcoin News Twitter feed, check out this tweet, follow all the accounts below there, and let's see if we can win some Bitcoin prizes here. There's the video here shows some examples of the prizes. There's some AirPods, 1 million sats. It's a pretty cool video. It looks like it's an AI video. A hardware wallet from Bitbox, plus many more prizes. So there's some good ones in there. I wanted to show that, and I wanted to push everybody a little bit to get entered into that contest. Brennan says, I use a whiteboard with no recording devices in the room, never speaking phrases out loud, just white erase, rewrite seeds every day. Wow. That's an very interesting thought there. That's a good point to touch on here. And maybe just to dive a little bit further into that. It seems like Arnie has calmed down. There's no more little whines, and he's not ripping around the house, so we can just relax a little bit here, finally. So with that, we talked about on this show today, about 10 minutes ago, we said you never want to keep your private keys on anything digital. So that's step one. Step two is getting it onto a piece of paper. And when you're doing that, you have to consider a few different things. Number one, your laptop camera, your webcam. I don't trust them once for a split second. Anything that has a webcam is there's somebody that can possibly see you on the other end of that. And so if you have your seed phrase and you're writing it down right in front of your laptop off the screen, there is a chance, I'm not saying this is a high likelihood, but there is a chance that that footage is recorded somewhere and somebody in the future could actually get that seed phrase. Very paranoid, very next level stuff. But when you're dealing with an asset like Bitcoin, you have to be taking this stuff seriously. And so it is a very small step in precaution to make sure that it doesn't happen to you. But that is one thing that I would consider, is just make sure that you never say your seed phrase out loud, like Brennan said here. And when you're writing down your seed phrases, make sure that it's nowhere near any devices. So that's my thought on that. Lucas says, do you feel like Noah? Like me? I don't think that I feel like Noah. Maybe it feels like that some days, not so much lately. It seems like there's more and more people who are starting to realize that there is a flood coming and the dam's about to break. But it does feel like that. Sometimes it feels like you're standing on the top of a mountain and yelling, look what's coming here. And nobody's really listening. And so it'll happen. I definitely am not the only Noah out there. I know what he feels like. Let's just say that. Sachi, good morning, my friend. Brendan says Amazon devices, iPhones, Androids are all spies. I agree. I agree with that. Always assume the worst with everything because you're probably not going to be too far off. Back to zap.stream. What do we got going on here? Jose says brain walls scare me because I can't remember where I put my car keys. Yeah, brain walls are tough. I tried. I was somebody who tried memorizing a seed phrase. I did. I was able to memorize it. I went through it every day. But then I kind of got to a point where, no, what happened there? Oh, then I upgraded to 24 words. So I don't think I'm going to try memorizing that one. But with the 24-word phrase, you can actually do more with it, especially if you have a cold card. You can set up different features within that cold card to add different layers of security to it. And if you are somebody, I would say that if you're somebody with more than 25 million Satoshis right now, 0.25 of a Bitcoin, you should be taking the highest level of precautions in terms of your Bitcoin. And to me, that is the cold card. To me, that is the cold card with a couple layers of security on there with 24-word seed phrase. And you have to learn how to do that. So we're going to talk about that, though, in a couple minutes here, though. So we'll put that on the back burner for now. Shout out to Kieran in the chat. He zapped 1,000 sats. Kieran, my man, what a guy. The builder and the creator of zap.stream in the chat, zapped 1,000 sats. That is the kind of stuff that I'm here for. Appreciate you, Kieran, very much. Daniel says, I'm a fan of the Border Wallet if you're a Sparrow desktop user. Haven't had a chance to check that out yet, but I will. Shell is in the house. Good morning, my friend. That's one of my NOSTR pals as well. I feel like since I started the show to today, my audience went from probably 0 people on NOSTR to probably 80% of people who watch the show are on NOSTR. So that's kind of cool. Palm says he's still using the old ledger. I mean, if that's what you got, you make that work. And he says that he hasn't updated the firmware to coincide with all the different things that have been happening at Ledger. So if that's what you got, it's much better than on an exchange. So that's kind of the threshold that I would use is 0.25. You want to start taking it seriously. And if you have a Bitcoin or more, you should strongly be considering, you should be mapping out your Bitcoin journey in the sense that at the end of that, you're going to have a multi-signature setup. And that is quite a ways down the road for a lot of people, but it basically takes you out as a single point of failure. So you spread out your risk across geographical locations. And so somebody needs at least 2 of those cold cards in order to move into your Bitcoin around. So it's not something you do when you're just getting into Bitcoin, but it is something that you want to have in the back of your mind. And you just slowly start watching some videos, start learning what it is. And then once you're ready for it, that's when you set up the multi-signature. So as usual here, the chat has delayed the show quite a bit, but that's okay. That's my favorite part of the show. So I do want to watch this video here. This is a video from TFTC with speaking of the cold card, the creator of the cold card, or the company that creates the cold cards, NVK. I'm going to put this on the screen. It's about 3 minutes long. And he's talking about AI. And he's talking about how it's going to impact us and kind of our jobs going forward. So it's going to tie perfectly into the main theme of today. And I'm going to bring it up here. Nope, I can't do that. I have to do it the other way, I think. Just got to make sure. I hate sharing videos and there's no sound and then you just waste 2 minutes. Okay, so share audio. Put this full screen. And let's see what NVK has to say.
No, I saw a screenshot of somebody writing like a React program in I think it was like Expedia or something like that, an airline chatbot. Like, write me a React app. Yeah, no, it's fascinating. Like you mentioned, like 2 to 3 years, this will all be normalized. Like, how drastically do you think this changes the landscape of startups, businesses in general, the economy?
I mean, the bullish case is that we lose 50% of the workforce, right? So all the managerial middle, like the people who are sandwiched inside a company, right? Especially big companies, they might go, right? Because you're not gonna need 50 layers of like manager analyst types, right? Because one, a lot of the positions below them won't need to exist. They won't need to exist. Because right now, think about it this way, right? So like Tim Cook wakes up in the morning and he goes, and he gets the beautiful report, I'm sure, with all the sales, with this crazy breakdowns, this crazy beautiful correlations of things. And then, in 3 years from now, he's going to wake up and he's going to just ask a question and the thing is going to answer. So whatever sort of like ideas he has, which is really the value, right? That's the human value, is the creativity of the question. The answering of the question it's an implementation problem. So it's an engineering concern. So, we can resolve those with technology and engineering. We can't resolve the human creativity and sort of completely randomness of thought, through engineering. So positions that ask questions, the people who come up with great questions are going to be paid very well. And the people who work through the grind through Excel to come up with answers are going to not have a job. That's sort of like, I think that at least my framework on how to see the near future. And it's going to be gradual, right? Because even though the technology may already be there, adoption is still gradual. So, but I think we're going to be looking at a very different landscape in 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, do you think it leads to digital serfdom, or is it an event that sparks the blooming of 10,000 roses?
I know it's kind of like, it's all over the place, right? Because you have the centralized improvements in AI, you have the new startups in AI, you have, the open source AI. Like, it's kind of like coming from all places. Because it's so young, there is a lot of innovation to be had that is like ginormous. And my theory is that all these large companies release their models open source when they hit a wall. Every time they hit a wall, they go like, fuck it. Release open source, let the crazy kids sort of improve it. And then we essentially acquire them for hundreds of millions of dollars. And then we improve again. And the cycle continues.
Yeah, it feels like ChatGPT is hitting a wall.
Okay, very interesting stuff there. A couple things to note. So he basically said that AI in 2 to 3 years, this isn't 10 or 20 years. He says that AI in 2 or 3 years will cut out half of the workforce. It already has cut out a bunch. But he said that anybody who's in the middle managers, anybody who's providing reports to the owners of the company, they're going to be irrelevant, because for the most part, the people who work under them are also going to be irrelevant. And he said that the people, you're going to be able to find any sort of information that you want. You're going to be able to take a shitload of data and convert it into a nice little paragraph summarizing that info, and think about the amount of people that's going to come out of every business in the world. 2 to 3 years, that's going to happen. So if you are somebody who is doing spreadsheets, writing reports, not for your boss but for your clients as well. And he talks about accounting and this stuff and what he thinks is going to happen with accountants. And believe it or not, when I left the public accounting industry in 2021, I worked there for just about 10 years. And when I discovered Bitcoin, I knew that not only did I need to be spending all of my time figuring out this thing and building stuff in Bitcoin, that my job as it is today probably won't be around in, I thought 10 years, but he thinks 2 or 3 years, those are going to be completely cut out. So I would recommend watching this episode. It's about 2 hours long, but very informative stuff. And take this stuff seriously, because NVK is a person who is building here. This isn't his opinion. He's seeing it every single day. He built his own AI platform. It's called chat.unleashed or unleashed.chat, one of the two. But it accepts Bitcoin for the AI doing jobs. So this isn't his opinion. This is his experience with it, and what he already sees can be done with this stuff. And logically thinking through things, you can see what's going to happen here. And I know that is very scary for a lot of people, especially if you're somebody out there who is in that type of position, because you're still going to have to put food on your table. And during that transition, that's where things are going to get really nasty for a lot of people. And so kind of going back to that quote that we had up here a little while ago from Eric, it says, I'm realizing more and more at how absolutely unhinged everything is going to get, and how childish most people are in believing that someone will come to save them. And when there is no one and things are worse than they could ever imagine, that is when reality will sink in. And so today's show is titled All Aboard the Bitcoin Lifeboat. And we talked about the Titanic analogy yesterday on the show, of how you see the iceberg coming. You're watching this show today, so you know that something's wrong in our current system. And so you grab a lifeboat. As you're paddling away, your friends, your acquaintances, your coworkers, they're all yelling at you like you're an idiot. Come back to the Titanic. Everybody is partying. Everybody is dancing. Everything's good on here. Why are you floating out into the middle of the ocean? And so that, I think that's a good analogy in terms of, you have to ignore the people yelling at you. You see the Titanic coming. And so I want to take this one step further. And there was a comment here in the chat about the Ark, Noah's Ark. And I think that's actually a much more, a better analogy than the Titanic is. Because if you think about the Titanic, that's only a small group of people that were on the Titanic. You got on a lifeboat, you found the nearest shore, and you waited for people to come and save you. I think a better analogy is actually an ark, where the entire world is flooding. And there is this ark that you have the ability to get on today. And kind of what you do with that is up to you. You can buy Bitcoin and you'll get onto the raft, or you might get a lifeboat that, you know, gets saved eventually. It buys you some time. Let's just say that. If you're somebody who owns Bitcoin right now, it's going to buy you some time. But that's just one part of it, because you have to think about what's coming. You have to think about AI. You have to think about the jobs and what that whole landscape is going to look like in 2 or 3 years from now. This isn't something that's decades away. This is happening today. And so instead of just buying Bitcoin, I want you to really start living in Bitcoin. Bitcoin mindset, everything that you do, all your energy every day should be focused on that. And so I'm going to give you 5 things here to not only get on the lifeboat, but when that lifeboat is being built, it is going to be the most sturdy boat that you can imagine. You're not going to worry about getting attacked by some sharks. It's going to be an ark, essentially. That's what you want to build for yourself and your family. And so number 1, obviously, is get some Bitcoin. That's the first step. And like I said, that is something that will be good for everybody. If you have some Bitcoin, even regardless of the amount, you're going to buy yourself some time, because you think about what you're doing there. Basically, what you're doing is you're putting your energy, your capital that you have today, you're putting that into Bitcoin to store your purchasing power into the future, because everything is getting so expensive right now, and it's not going to turn around, right? That quote we talked about from Eric, no one's going to come save you. There's not a single person, not a single politician, any decision maker in the world who has the ability to turn this around. It's gone. And so that's what you need to be thinking about in the back of your mind, that not only buying Bitcoin, but you have to start setting yourself up in a way that so that Bitcoin doesn't diminish, because you're still going to have to pay for everything in your life, right? So the Bitcoin will hold on to your purchasing power for a little bit longer, but eventually you're going to run out of that Bitcoin. It's not going to be there forever, and it's going to go down, it's going to go up. But through that, you have to be building a system in your life that's earning Bitcoin. And so let's get through this checklist here. So number 1, get some Bitcoin. Number 2, learn how to protect that Bitcoin. And I talked about the threshold there, 0.25 of Bitcoin. If you have that 25 million sats, you should be investing some of your time and money into securing that Bitcoin, whatever that looks like for you. Maybe a cold card, maybe 20 hours on YouTube learning how to do that or use that cold card, but you have to be protecting that Bitcoin. And if you're somebody who has 1 Bitcoin or 10 Bitcoin, you have to be taking this stuff seriously. You have to be, because you have no idea what that's going to be worth in the future. And so I would be, if I was in that position, I would be hiring somebody to help me with that, just to kind of walk me through it. Obviously, you never give them any sort of access to your Bitcoin stuff, but just have somebody that on that track, right? So you want to have a multi-signature setup. You want to have somebody there to advise you on what to do with it. And it is something that you have to start taking very seriously. So learn how to protect that Bitcoin. Number 3 is build your network. This is probably the most important part of this whole thing. If you want your ark, we'll call it, not a lifeboat. If you want your ark to be sturdy, you have to have the people on there that you want. And so build your network. Start with doing that online via NOSTR. That's what I would focus on. Twitter is a cesspool. Everything else, Reddit, the Telegram, it's all junk. Get onto NOSTR, start meeting some connections there, start online. And then from there, slowly over time, start meeting people in person. As your network grows, you're going to start finding more and more people who are geographically close to you. And so not only online, but once you have some connections built online, start moving that to real life, in-person stuff. Because that's kind of the next phase of this, is you want to find people to build yourself a circular economy in a sense. It's kind of a buzzword in Bitcoin, but it is every expense you have in the month, whether that be food, clearing snow, the old system over time. So start building your network online and then in person. Very important. Number 4, start working at night and in the early morning, or one of the two. But take what it is that you do every day, whatever your skills are, and start doing that for Bitcoin. At night, in the morning, figure out ways to, once you have that network built, find people who are willing to pay for the work that you do, whether that's a product, whether that's a service. Find people out there who are willing to pay you in Bitcoin for whatever it is that you do. And the best way to do that, because you don't want to watch this video today, email your employer and say, I'm done. I'm going full into Bitcoin. I'm doing this today. Because you do have those expenses to pay, and Bitcoin will buy you some time during that transition, but you have to focus on earning Bitcoin. So start working at night, start working in the early mornings, start offering your skills to Bitcoiners and start earning Bitcoin day and night. It will provide you the transition. It will get you more Bitcoin. It will buy you more time. And when that time comes where you actually want to leave your job, your fiat job, you're going to have a very nice foundation there to go off of. Hopefully at that time you have some recurring revenue every month in Bitcoin, and that's going to set you up. It'll take a lot of stress out of your life. It'll buy you a lot more time. And that's the best way to do it, is just start doing that at night and in the mornings. Even when I was working at my job as an accountant, every morning, every night, I was working on King Golf stuff. And then when I eventually left my job in 2021, I had some sort of foundation built there. It wasn't earning enough for me to live off of yet, but at that time there was a lot going on in the world, and I was kind of forced into it, and I had to really adapt myself to it. And it definitely wasn't easy. It's still not easy today. But the more you can set yourself up for that leap, the better off you're going to be. And the best way to do that is slowly in the morning and at night. And then finally, once you're ready to take that jump, number 5, create an income stream that earns Bitcoin. So whatever that looks like to you, and I would suggest, this is me personally, and this is where we're going to be talking about on the Living in the Future show today, but find a way where you can earn multiple sources of Bitcoin, whatever that is, whatever that looks like. If you want to start a Zap stream every single day, 6 in the morning, you wake up, have some coffee, you talk about your interests, that's a revenue stream for you because you got Zaps coming in. Over time, everything's going to take time here. But that's one stream. You also design, this is a good one actually, design chicken houses, chicken coops. So whatever it is that you do, if you do something at work that other people can benefit from, and you can take that work and sell it to people for Bitcoin, that's an income stream for you. And you want to have as many of those streams as possible that are earning Bitcoin. Another one would be, what would be another one? Fountain. So you can kind of leverage this in a sense that you have stuff that you actually do for work, and then you have other avenues of earning sats, such as the Fountain app. So if you don't have the Fountain app today, go grab it from the App Store. Just head to the App Store, download the Fountain app, start listening to podcasts. The Daily Bitcoin Journey is on Fountain. So if you don't have time in the morning, or you want to listen to a certain part again, or just put it on and not even listen to it, you can earn Bitcoin every single day just by turning on Fountain and listening to a podcast. So try to create as many of these streams as you possibly can, because then even if it's 1,000 sats per stream per month, if you can get that amount up, that's when your life is going to change. And that's when you're going to start accumulating so many sats that you don't even know how many you have anymore. That's the point you want to get to. And it is doable. It's yours for the taking right now. There's so much opportunity, and these are going to dry up over time as more and more people start to clue into what's happening here. These sources of sats are going to dry up. So you're going to be more reliant on your value to the world, but that's okay. That's what you should be focused on anyways. That's your core stream here, is whatever value you add to the world, get Bitcoin in return for that, and have that as your core stream, but then create 10, 20, 30 streams around that of sats flowing in. So I hope that makes sense to people, in the sense that if you own Bitcoin and that's all you do, and you're hoping that that's going to carry you through this transition, it's not. And that's a hard reality for a lot of people who have this hope and dream of, just because they bought some Bitcoin back in 2024, that they're going to be set up for the rest of their lives. You're going to buy yourself some time. Your lifeboat will be afloat for a while, but eventually it'll sink because it's not solid. And so you have to be building the system, building this network, and building your foundation of Bitcoin coming in. And that's going to be the key to, surviving this flood. I hope that makes sense. The chats of, I don't know if everybody was just listening or if what happened there, but that's kind of my theory there. And I think that this is something that you have to be taken seriously right now. There is some urgency. He said 2 or 3 years. It could be a year from now where your job is done. It could be a month from now. You get an email from your boss saying that, we've been using this new system. It actually replaces what you do here. So unfortunately, we don't need you anymore. And at that time, you're going to be in a very tough position where you don't have any fiat coming in. You have a bunch of bills to pay, your mortgage, your rent. And so the earlier you can start building this and setting yourself up for this, the better off you're going to be. Brennan says, Bitcoin teaches entrepreneurship by way of sovereignty. The idea of working for somebody else's goals is becoming more and more absurd to me. Oh. That's music to my ears, my friend. That is music to my ears. And I truly believe this is my theory. I don't think that we're going to have employees. I don't think we're going to have employers in 10 years from now. It'll be a transition. As NVK said, everything takes time. But I think that the dynamic of work is going to look much different in 10 years from now. Everybody's going to be their own boss. Everybody who chooses to live in Bitcoin, chooses to earn Bitcoin, they're going to have that freedom. They're going to have that flexibility, and they can earn Bitcoin. Everybody else will be earning fiat. They'll come to a point where they just can't afford it anymore. It's way too much. And then that's their breaking point there. It's coming. Without a doubt. Aaron Haywood, 7.0. Holy. Is that 7 YouTube accounts you've gone through? That's pretty impressive if that's the truth. He says decentralized business. It is. That's what it's going to be. No one's going to have a boss anymore. You're going to be your boss, and you're going to be doing jobs. You're going to be adding value for people and earning Bitcoin for that. And the earlier you can start doing that, the better off you're going to be when that time comes. So, and kind of just to go off of that, that's not going to be everybody. There's going to be people who choose not to do that, choose not to add value to the world, and they're going to be totally reliant on the government. They're going to have the CBDCs, they're going to have their food paid for, UBI, but they're going to be restricted. They're going to be living in the zoo. So Aaron says we can probably make money for watching TV. That'll happen. That'll be the UBIers as well. There'll be people who just watch TV and earn their CBDC all day for watching TV and looking at ads. It'll happen. And they'll be able to pay for their rent with that. They'll be able to pay for food. But the people who really want to thrive in this new economy and build their own networks and circular economies, they're going to do way better. They're going to have the freedom to do whatever they want and actually add value to the world, because that's what we were put here to do. We weren't put here to watch fucking Netflix all day and wait to die. So, sorry, we had 2 episodes in a row here, yesterday and today, that were a little bit urgent, I think, and hopefully that doesn't come off in the wrong way. I'm not trying to scare you here. I'm just trying to speak logically to what I think is going to happen in this next decade. And once you can start thinking like that, once you can start, whether you agree with me or not, you have to start questioning some of the things that we've known our whole lives. And so I really don't mean to be cynical. I could not be more hopeful of what we're building here in Bitcoin. You could not talk to a more hopeful guy about our future than me. So I just want to give some urgency here and remind you that nobody's going to save you. You're anymore. So grab a lifeboat, get on the ark. The good news is that we have this system in place already. We just need to utilize it and build ourselves into it. So with that, I want you to join us. I'm going to jump over to Patreon right now, or to Living in the Future tier. We're going to talk about, I have a thing that I'm going to talk about in terms of what you can start doing in terms of being the Bitcoin guy in your network. So even if you don't want to launch a Bitcoin consulting business or a Bitcoin education business, if you can be the Bitcoin guy in your network, I'm going to tell you a few things of what you can do to start setting yourself up for these multiple streams of income coming in. How you can take advantage of Bitcoin moving from a niche industry into a mainstream industry without having to start a business helping people do it. You can just be the Bitcoin guy and create different streams of Bitcoin sats coming in every month. So I want you to join us today. Even if you sign up for 7 days and you cancel it, I want you to watch today's show. Because if I'm sure that everybody out here is the Bitcoiner in their group. And I'm going to talk about what we can be doing today to set up for these next 4 to 8 years and how to take advantage of that. So with that, checking quickly on the Zap.stream. Rick says fiat will be in a museum one day. Will it ever? It'll be interesting to see how everything gets rebuilt in this new Bitcoin economy, new system. But anyways, sorry, Aaron, don't have time to talk NSA right now. Tomorrow is the Q&A day. I already have like 4 or 5 really good questions lined up for tomorrow's show. So every Thursday we do a live Q&A from taking questions from the chat, from the emails. So send me an email, Aaron, if you want me to answer that tomorrow. I think we've talked about it on the show before a couple times, but 88sats@proton.me. If you got a question, comment, anything, let me know. So if you want to join us here for the next part of the show, go to the description, click Living in the Future, sign up for a free trial, and join us there. So with that, I hope you have the best hump day. I hope that keep in mind, keep this mindset going into the future. Calm and cheerful. In every interaction that you have today, calm and cheerful. I want that to be the theme of this channel going forward. And for in your life, remind yourself of that every day. Calm, cheerful. So with that, I hope you join us. If you don't, I get it. But we will, that's a nice comment to end with. Edwin, all love. Amen to that. So I hope you join us. If you don't, I understand. And we'll see you right back here first thing tomorrow morning for the Bitcoin Q&A. Bye-bye.